Peace, peace. Let's finish this up. This is part three. So we start with Cape Verde. We end with Cape Verde, the island of fortune. We're gonna see what Fortunadas at in reality in our timeline. Um, which we believe became reconstructed as the Cape Verde Islands, and also Geta when we get down to them. So Cape Verde may be referred to in the works De Choreographic by Pomponius Mela and Historian Naturals by Pliny the Elder. They called the islands gorgeous in reference to the home of the mythical Gorgons killed by Perseus. They also suggested in typical ancient Euhemerism the islands as the place where the Carthaginians handled the navigators, slew two females gorilla whose skin Hanno brought back to Carthage. Pliny, citing the Greek writer Xenophon of Lampshades, placed the Gorgas 2 days' travel from Hesperius Caesar, the westernmost part of the African continent, today called Cape Verde. So that's what they think they're talking about. Pliny, as quoted by Gaius Julius Solinus, also stated that voyage from the Gorges to the Hesperides is around 40 days. The Isles of the Blessed, written by the Marinos of Tyre and referenced by Ptolemy in his Geographica, may have been the Cape Verde Islands. So in the earlier times, you got less borders because you got more unification. And over time, kings get petty, more borders become through walls and different changes throughout time. So you see, we got Numidia or Geta. Let's get Tulia. And I think that was the island of the blessed at where they believe at in modern times. So we know right here as the times maybe before, right before this era, we got Carthago, Numidia, and Mauritania as the main kingdoms. You got the kingdom of Tarsus. You got the islands of the Hesperides, like we just finished reading. And you got the island of the Blessed. The islands of the Blessed. So Becky gonna be talking about the same things we talking about, but they're gonna be telling you in their reconstructed version of everything. So that we got right here, we got the Canaries, and we got not the Canaries. Yeah, that's the Canaries, and you got Africa next to the Canaries. But you see, you got rivers and small islands everywhere that look more like the Caribbean than anything. You see Geta again, right by the islands. That's another version. A lot of this was reconstructed, but you can still find these islands on the other side by name. This Island Mayo became Maya, Maya, like we got on the other side. Island of Maya. And the darker Cape you enter the Darien on the other side, Barnabas. But the most important port is Arguim. We know we got Arguim on the outside, the islands of Dario, and you see a bunch of small islands right in front of it. You don't see that on this course. You see that on the we're gonna turn them we're gonna turn them the same way they got them turned. And look at them like that. That's what they want us to believe they're talking about. But you don't got those rivers that come into, got a few here and there. And they want us to think they're talking about this too. You can see it in place names, Fogo. And you know that Praia is on the other side too. They still got all these names still in the right spot on the other side. See Maya right there. We gonna go on the other side in a second and show you the same things. Santa Maria, Boa Vista. And then they give us some land. But what happened to all those small islands and big dips? You know we got the Senegal over here. But what else they got? This right here is a good plus land getting into the Gambia. But those islands come right here. The Senegal, which on the other side is Senegal. So on this side, we really see all those little small islands on top of this, with a bunch of islands coming down. Also, from right here coming down, I ain't going this way. Try to get him back right. Still ain't right. Forget. But a lot of these place names end up getting over there after 1536. We're about to see that next. We got the Guana Hata Bays, Guana Arabes. And you see how they got them break down into different territorial sections. They've been governing this land way before Columbus and after. They just been doing them under the fifth one going to Castile now instead of to the Sharif. At that time, it was an act of a certain notoriety. There was public reading as well as a right of perpetual infeudation with a gold ring and a scepter included. When we see that gold ring and the scepter with the Edward III, the Pope sent a series of letters in which he ordered the King of Aragon, Castile, and Portugal, among others, to help as much as possible and the conquest of these islands. So you see, he called on the entire Christendom to take these islands. So what are we talking about again? Are we talking about these? Or are we talking about these? That's the question. Even as the same thanks as the Crusaders of the Holy Land were seen, but and here is the grace of the matter. Louis de la Cerda, remember him, had not asked the Pope for anything or for an alleged participation in a French navy against him, as can be read in some poorly informed books. So we see the Spanish Crusade in North Africa. The Spanish Crusades in North Africa, you see that date, right? 1499, 1510. Spain's supposed to be dealing with America now, right? They already get Grenada and run the Moors back to Morocco. They story jumped to them dealing with America, Peru, Mexico, all up and down. So that's the true story of that told in Moorish point of view. Our history, not history, ours. They fall in the end of Muslim rule in Hispania. That's the 1491 fall of Granada event. A number of cities were recaptured, including Melilla, Mers de El Caber, Canary Islands, Oran, Rock of Algiers, Bougie, and Tripoli. He asked for them because his wife, Leonor, we're talking about Lacerda, Leonor Perez de Guzman, daughter of the Guzman El Bueno, came from Alamar, that is, from the other side of the Atlantic in dowry. So they're using blood ties. With this Guzman El Bueno, the good. According to Spanish tradition, Guzman was born in Morocco. Now watch how they talk to you. At the same time, you know if they talking to you like this. They put Morocco in blue. So that means when you click that, they're gonna take you to the page of our modern day Morocco of our times. But we talk about 1288 now, using terms like Morocco. Historians have since speculated that he was a Muslim. And a permit to export wheat signed in 1288, Guzman was given permission to export the crop to where he is from, likely, very likely in Morocco. A document from 1297 signed by the Spanish king refers to Guzman as a vessel, i.e., non-Spaniard. The document was owned by the late Luisa Isabel Alvarez de Toledo, 21st Duchess of Medina Sidonia, a direct descendant of Guzman. She said that she believed his history might have been cleaned up in the 16th century to alter his origins. She thought that would have made the hero more palatable in Spain Christian society. So they reconstruct his history, and she set them straight on the real history about him and on everything else. And they got a dubious they're discussing right now, the Wikipedia masterminds behind the scenes. But they know this story, and they know the Morocco she talking about, because on the HBO special when the Moors ruled Europe, they interview her at the beginning, and she but going to tell them not the Morocco of today. They cut that part off and they start asking her other stuff. And she said, from Morocco. Yeah, he from Morocco, Morocco of, and then they cut him off. Something, they let her say something, but she ain't say the word America. So Safi, like I telling you, a kingdom on the land that we call America today. Louis de la Cerda died before he could start the company, and it became vacant. So that's just one story of one Moorish American at that time who owned shit, but they in Spain because they own shit over there too. That what she get. All is supposed to be up under the crown. That is the reason why the Duke of Medina Sidonia were one of the three buyers of the right of conquest that Michio de Betancourt so strongly put on sale, buying two and ended up three times what they already had. The ducal house insistently sought to legalize a situation from which it could easily be dispossessed because, as we have said, no right could be claimed over an officially not yet discovered land. So they lose their lands based off this all becoming a new world under Rome and Spain and them now, instead of the names that they already had them in their titles as, like Santa Cruz de Tenerife and stuff like that. Them names Morocco, those names getting changed. So they losing title based off of a lie. That is, and always following the plot line of Isabel Alvarez de Toledo, Alamar written like this with capital letters as a place name to differentiate from the other use more generally, Alan Del Mar. So this means from beyond the sea, which can be the whole continent, and this means Alamar, a actual port name, like the port Beyond. I believe it was another one means beyond. The port where you get the products from beyond for at. It was not only a place name on the other side of the Atlantic in America, but it was also a population in Barbary. So in records is known as a population in Barbary. So that means it getting replaced in history for our modern day version of what Barbary is. Don't fall for that. Barantas Maldonado, one of the sharpest chroniclers in the house, clearly tells us that the first Guzman came from Barbary, from Alan del Mar, although he tells us below and emphasizes that he was a Christian or one of the best and most faithful. But the same thing that they write on Wikipedia about her, they ain't write everything, because she tell them also that she find Qurans and stuff. So she basically said her family been practicing Islam in secret. Moriscos. This Guzman is one of those who brought to Christian Europe the knowledge of the Atlantic routes. One of those, you see what I'm saying? A lot of them Moors who been going into Spain been from here. That's how they get all that claim from here, because they dispossess these people. So, i.e., Moorish American, it's the study land. Those who brought to Christian Europe the knowledge of the Atlantic routes. He took advantage of them, and all those who connected with his house knew about them, starting with Alfonso X, whose first consort was Donna Mayor Julian Guzman. See, he even got in that family. And continuing with their daughter, Beatrice, Queen of Portugal, who took him to this country, without forgetting the aforementioned Luis de Lacerda. The bond of the wife king with Donna Mayor could even have responded to a well-conceived political treaty opening to the wise king not only the doors of these routes, but above all, the door to a peaceful union by marriage of the kingdom of Niebla. Niebla history dates back 3,000 years. The town's early importance was due to the silver industry, exploited by Phoenician trade in 8th century BC. The town was commercial and political center known as Ilipa in Roman times. Now, ain't no silver there now. The silver coming from somewhere. So if this trade been going on, they say 3,000 years, and you can trace yourself back, you're dealing with both sides because of the silver. So I know people who writing us discussing these things know about that, because they put these clues in this every page. By 713, the town of Aleppo was under Moorish control. So Niebla today is Gibraltar, near Gibraltar. We're going to talk about that later. The town became part of the Emirate of Cordoba in 756. The further fortification was constructed from 1023, Niebla became the capital of the Taifa of Niebla, whose army fought the Taifa of Savo. The battle was lost and Niebla fell under the control of Savo in 1053. Islamic rule began to weaken after 1212, and the town was conquered in 1262 by Alfonso X. Descriptions of the siege suggest that this town was the place where gunpowder was first used in Spain. That's what explained how the Guzman could easily connect with the royal house. We're talking about Castile and Rome and everybody because of the power they had over them ports. The difficulties in making the marriage officialized and that peace with the Muslim population of Niebla barely survived a year after the death of Donna Maya. Finally, it was the work of the wise kings related to this, the creation of the Naval Order of Santa Maria de España, based in Cartagena. So they created an organization to dispossess these Guzmans and these Moors who in Niebla. They ready to steal now after the Donna Maya died, whose purpose was to conquest and Barbary, which is the other side, which is our side, the side where these Moors come from. But they need Niebla because you gotta have a place where you can take your ships out, and you need ships. You need a place to boat ships. So that's the Order of Saint Mary of Spain that they talk about. The Spanish military order concentrating the Order of the Star now was a Spanish military order concentrating on naval activity created by Alfonso X of Castile, King of Leon and Castile in 1270. The order was founded around 1270 by King Alfonso X of Castile with the purpose of aiding the naval defenses of the Crown of Castile. It was founded similarly to the Order of Calatrava, and its members was made up of nobles, knights, and clergy. Since 1273, it was integrated by the Order of the King with the Cistercians, and its uniform was a black robe and red cape, gold star. So they even taking some sciences from some more Moors who had ports in the early days around these times in Europe. It is taken into account the existence of this transatlantic trade that stunning rents of Casa Medina Sidonia around 1530 would be easily explained, and the very rapid ascent of the Guzman house until that date. The house comprised of a total of 6,000 square kilomiles of surface at that time, which ran from Palos to San Lucar, when it was normal for the large ship to be scattered throughout the territory, always in newly conquered territories. Its 8,000 chests neighbors pay rent worth 11 million maravedis a year, to which must be added the rent that was collected in kind worth 10,000 wheat and 2,000 wheat fennegas, which was done with all this wheat. It was exported to America. So they still been working with Moors on this side, and their job been to distribute wheat to us for whatever we've been giving them, even a business. And both sides have to been understanding of that business to make that go like that for all this money to come through if you look at the records. And we know they need wheat across the Morocco of our day. They need wheat in the tropics, which would be in the Brazilian area. So that's where the people who it getting exported to. So all this Moorish American history. You see, that's how all the sections that they've been talking about, 6,000 square kilometers. But you look, it just ports. And both connected to Savo. But you got rivers coming into Savo from the sea. And you can see how Castile, how they basically take a continent and flip it all up and cause Europe to go through a Great Depression and everything. Its ports was San Lucar, which was rightly called Bonanza, was a port capable of containing no more less than 300 ships with a length that was between 8 and 10 kilometers long. With the customs of this port alone, the Duke took out at the beginning of the 16th century about 2 million maravedis a year. Some of the customs of all the other ports of Andalusia does not even reach a tenth. It is argued that an explanation that San Lucar functioned as an anti-port of Seville, you see. That's what they were saying, try to make the excuse of why San Lucar was so wealthy. Because, they just discovered the continent. Ain't no way they already got business operating like that. Unless that really happened and business been already happening. So they trying to fit history into a box where ain't nobody know about this place until after 1492, which is gonna keep getting them making more lies and more lies on top of lies to keep that real. Obviously, and Amsterdam and London and Genoa and San Luca, all the products that America was exchanged with for wheat was stored. So San Luca became that port that we use. This trade was carried out from the first moment of the conquest since 1288. Sanchos IV already authorized Guzman El Bueno to export duty-free 300 cajiques of terrateado bread wheat a year to take him to Alamar Duels, where he from. On the maps of America in the 16th and 17th century appears the tip of Allende. Allende on the Portuguese, for the Portuguese on the coast of the Maranon, which today become Melinda instead on the coast of the Maranon. The Catholic Kings is a bill in front of there. After the victory over Portugal in the Castilian War of Concession, finally set to work to ruin those who had really or supposedly supported the opposing side. So now they about to clean up all the thing. They put Inquisition in Seville, which took a good number of people from San Lucar ahead of it. Put an auditor in the house of the Duke of Medina Sidonia, who would find out well what was cooking there. And finally, Don Fernando de Aragon, so they clean up more of the Islamic aspects of what's going on. They trying to get rid of the Moors and replace them with their own people as much as possible in Spain on their side of the trade. Don Fernando de Aragon tried to force the marriage alliance of the young heir Guzman with a close relative of hers. After his flight to Portugal, the Aragonese entered to Lut Niebla, a banner and a symbol of Guzman Empire, and also a place where his treasure was kept. With a standing army, artillery, and all the deployment that modern warfare allowed, he forced the powerful city walls and, in the manner of viziers, passed the population little less than by knife to serve as a lesson. Established the monopoly of trade with the Indies in the Casa de la Contracción, the house of the Indian house of the contracts. This was put in Cadiz and then in Seville, thus possessing San Lucar. Moved by the pure greed of permanently exhausted royal coffers, the only end sought in the Indian trade was gold. So they are even just trying to get as much gold as possible because they ain't know how to run the business as the Moors been already running it since 1288, as they saying, and before. So they caused a lot of poverty and stuff in Spain and stuff like that during the time. So they need gold, try to get a bit, but greed still take over anyway. When it was given at its source, it was not hesitated for a moment to limit its entry. The uncontrolled arrival of American gold and silver triggered the monetary flow and caused an unprecedented price escalation that in 2 generations left half the peninsula plunged into atrocious poverty. Asked about the causes of it, the referees, that's these people who write these Wikipedia pages, did not get the disease right. Royalty, already converted into a state, it is used to uncontrolled spending. When the flow ceased, it entered successful bankruptcies that ended the empire with extraordinary taxes. Another thing that caused them to lose a lot of their empire is the Moors on this side who they been trusted in to pay them that fifth and paying them that fifth. They still been running their kingdoms without paying them the fifth. So you can write how many stories you want to write. The reality gonna tell you the truth. It seems that nothing has changed in this. In Europe, on the other hand, it served to finance paradoxes of life, both the massive rebellion against the Catholic Church, the secession of Protestant states. The leap or the assault on America by Catholic kings accelerated the creation of modern states. You see, all that did was create more independent states who ain't pledged their allegiance to them and just keep running the colony. Even if Castile would have put somebody on the throne, say a viceroy, the viceroy would have been from here. Somebody from here they thought they could trust. That person now take that thing and put him in his own trust. And now you got Venezuela. Instead of the kingdom of New Granada. So accelerated the creation of modern states, equipping the royals with the means to support permanent armies paid directly by them and equip themselves with the bureaucratic infrastructure necessary to control each and better each aspect of country's life. Having no longer had to depend on the participation of the nobles in the war, they ignored them. The nobility lost its office, its lordship, and soon, they talk about the Moors, and soon after it, until its benefits. Above all, he lost his role as a counterweight and a mediator. Monarchies were made, therefore, and were called absolute in just over 100 years. So they start wielding absolute real power, but you got nobles who had power. They been kings in their own right. You know how it is. So you can't try to weave absolute real power like that over a bunch of nobles. You gotta listen to them nobles. In this sense, it seems that the order of Christ acted in a way not much more restrained, but also much more responsible. So that's why they last longer than Castile. They still around the day running everything. Order of Christ because he do it in secrecy. Maintaining severe control over routes and ships, not advertising them, allowing royalty to finance the expedition but not monopolize them, and control the amount of gold that was minted and even what was spent, acting as the temple probably did before, Templars, in the manner of an embryonic central bank. So we'll start right there. That's the end of this article, well written, and I hope that give you a good understanding of the overall situation. It's very intricate. So they give us a child version of the story. Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean blue and planted a cross. But it's much bigger than that. A lot of stories, not just Guzman. I got a couple stories of people who got same things happen to them. They had these estates on both sides. That means just getting into details. So I'll do a review. We're going to some more pictures and stuff on the next one. Peace.